Welcome back, everybody. I'd like to introduce Paul Woods, who will be batting cleanup for us here today on our first day of the plenary session. Again, Paul is the co-founder and chief innovation officer of Global Fishing Watch and is serving as the principal architect of the Global Fishing Watch technology platform. He currently leads the development of new technologies and applications of big data and remote sensing to solve challenging problems facing our ocean. So Paul is going to go over the maritime domain awareness today, and I think also talk a little bit about what we'll be going into tomorrow's sessions also. So Paul, welcome to the workshop.
Thank you, Bruce. It's a pleasure to be here. I really enjoyed that panel discussion and the lively Q&A from the audience. So I hope we'll have a little bit of time at the end, possibly to address a few of the questions that are still out there unanswered. So my name is Paul Woods. I'm the co-founder of Global Fishing Watch, now the Chief Innovation Officer. So I'm the technical resource and lead the technology team in what we're doing today and what we're planning to do in the future. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about Global Fishing Watch and how we think about open source maritime domain awareness. This is, commonly used phrase in maritime security, and generally means using open sources, meaning sources that are not classified. We have a slightly different take on this. So let me describe how we think about open source maritime domain awareness. So maritime domain awareness is seeing and understanding all the activity in the maritime domain. So in your area of interest, your country's waters, whatever you're concerned about, understanding everything that's going on there. And that includes what's happening now and in the recent past, but also understanding the patterns of activity over time. Tracking compliant vessels, detecting non-compliant vessels, predicting behaviors based on that tracking, so understanding what they're doing and not just where they are. We focus on close to real time, but not real time. We do not publish openly on the internet where vessels are right now, and we probably won't ever do that. But we get close to real time, and we focus extensively on understanding patterns of behavior and change over time, which we think is critical to understanding IUU, illegal, unregulated, unreported fishing behavior in particular. So that's what we mean by maritime domain awareness. What we mean by open source, public and commercial sources only, so no classified data. We focus on commercial licenses that allow for wide use. So our AIS license, for example, allows us to distribute all of the global products we produce from that for free on the internet, which is unusual for most companies that get licenses to use AIS data. We focus extensively on publishing our methods and using peer-reviewed science to validate what we're doing. So we don't have any secret sauce. We don't have any secret algorithms that you have to pay to find out how they work. We publish everything in scientific journals. We focus on global data, and that lends itself to automation, and that's how we achieve the economies of scale, which allows us to produce low-cost and free products. That means we don't focus on some kinds of data that don't work well for this. We focus on bringing closed data out into the public domain. So that's VMS data, vessel monitoring system data that Monica talked about, that we partner with countries to bring that data out into the public domain, so that it's not only in theoretically or legally public, it's actually publicly accessible with a click of a mouse. But we understand that not everything can be shared and not everything should be shared. We work directly with countries and governments using information that is not shared that supports better understanding. And we do that routinely in a variety of contexts. So that's open source maritime domain awareness. Benefits from this approach are immediate availability, because we can publish everything on a website. You can just go, people can register for free and log in and click, and they have availability to all of the data that we have published. It's highly shareable. If you find something on our website, you can send it to somebody else. You don't have to ask permission. You just do it. There's no cost and no restrictions on the use of the data other than our Creative Commons license, which is very generous and allows the data to be reused for other purposes. This openness and high degree of shareability can accelerate decision-making and also encourages cooperation within agencies within a single government, like between fisheries and the Navy, or between licensing and enforcement. And it also encourages cooperation between nations, because they have the same data available to all. So who are we at Global Fishing Watch? We're a distributed team. We're in 20 countries, 65 people. We're a non-for-profit. We're based in Washington, D.C., but most of our staff is not in the United States. We have people in Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, Peru, Costa Rica, and Canada, just in the Americas, as well as Europe and Asia. Most of our staff is data scientists, engineers, fisheries analysts, and people that focus on government policy and government engagement. That picture is from Panama City, which is the last time we had the whole team together. It was much smaller then, because that was before the pandemic in 2019. So Monica already covered this, so I won't go into the details. Why do we do this? The purpose of this and the motivation for me personally as a technologist, I didn't know a lot about fisheries when I got into Global Fishing Watch, but the ocean is under immense pressure. It is generally poorly monitored and poorly understood, especially the high seas. And there is an opportunity by applying the technology that Global Fishing Watch has developed expertise in, applying that technology to fill knowledge gaps with useful shareable data. So our purpose of our organization is to make publicly shareable data about human activity at sea, especially fishing, to make our use of the ocean more sustainable. So that's why we do what we do. This is the map. This is Global Fishing Watch. You can go to globalfishingwatch.org right now, log in, see this map, click on any one of those dots, which is an individual fishing event, see the vessel that performed that fishing event, see where else it fished, see where it came from, see where it went. And you can also do that with the public VMS that we have there on the map. So how we got started in 2015, we started the vision, we built this prototype. We partnered with Google, who lent us this ginormous screen. We put it in front of some philanthropists and said, gee, wouldn't it be great if we could share this with the world? I came from an NGO called SkyTruth, which specialized in remote sensing and technology, Oceana, which has deep knowledge in fisheries, and Google, which provided the platform. And so we started it up. And then we, due to that big screen and the excellent partners we had, we were able to convince Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation to fund the organization, and that got us off the ground, along with several other philanthropic funders. Secretary Kerry helped us to launch the product at the Our Ocean Conference in Washington, D.C. in 2016. And we've brought the product to every Our Ocean Conference around the world ever since. We are largely philanthropically funded. We also have funding from individual governments. This is some of the key funders that support us. So what we do to accomplish our vision for open source maritime domain awareness, making maritime data more accessible and shareable. We've talked already about a number of ways we do that. Supporting scientific research, grounding our research in public data and peer-reviewed papers. making scalable, cost-effective solutions. The most important technology there is artificial intelligence or machine learning that automates the intelligence gathering from the raw data. Publishing it in a way that establishes a common set of facts on the water so that we can facilitate conversations with a common base. As we noted in the Q&A, the AIS data and the VMS data that we use is incomplete. We don't have all of the facts on the water. In fact, we're missing a lot of really important fishing activity that just isn't trackable with those technologies. But we provide at least a common starting point for conversation. We bring more data into the public domain with VMS and authorization lists. We publish our intellectual property generally as open source, so all of the code and algorithms that we develop are available online to anybody that wants to take them and use them and apply them themselves. Numerous countries, we just learned that the Canadian government is using our new algorithm they built based on our algorithm for their internal fisheries monitoring. And we focus on a high level of collaboration with government, academia, NGOs, and industry. Because we're open with all of our data and all of our technology, it makes us easy to say yes to collaborations. So some of the key applications that we're able to do is distant water fleet monitoring. We've talked about that, on particularly the high seas fleets that operate and may come into national EEZs, but don't go into port there and are difficult to manage. Transshipment and encounters at sea. We have an entire open data set that publishes and all the encounters at sea between vessels we can track that are likely to involve transshipment. Marine protected area monitoring is a new capability with a new set of tools that we've just released last month. Enforcement and patrol planning, we've been conducting this principally with the U.S. Coast Guard, but increasingly with other partners, where we focus on understanding historical patterns of life and activities of vessels to inform the planning of a future enforcement patrol. We drive data-driven communications by providing all this data and making it in a map that makes easy visualizations. This gets used for communications by many parties around the world. And we have a new program, which we haven't released the data set yet, but we focusing on understanding the activity of dark vessels. That's non-compliant vessels that are not using the broadcast tools, AIS and VMS, to understand what those vessels are doing and quantify them, understand how much of the fleet that's fishing in your waters or in the high seas you're not seeing on your monitoring systems. And also, as mentioned before, we have a research project to understand better how to predict when forced labor may be happening at sea and make that data available to port inspectors that have the potential to take action. Also to market actors, retailers that do not want forced labor in their supply chain. We are working to figure out how to make that information available to them in an actionable way. So as Monica mentioned, our goal is to have 20 countries by the end of next year that are sharing their VMS data public. Right now we have 6. We have about 6 more on the way. So we still have a ways to go to get to 20, but that is our big stated goal that we initiated 4 years ago. So we have Indonesia, Peru, Panama, Chile, Costa Rica, and Ecuador are all in play, and we have 6 more on the way, that several of which will not be in Latin America. Mentioned this, so the groundbreaking science on our website, you can find 30 peer-reviewed papers that we've published that describe our methods, applications to fisheries. You can just go search for publications on the website with numerous partners, mostly universities in the United States, but increasingly partnering with groups around the world. So you're going to hear about this tomorrow. One of the big papers that we released recently is a study of dark fleets. So in North Korea, almost the entire fleet that's fishing there is dark. They do not use AIS for the most part. We published a very large report showing Chinese fishing vessels that were the vessels that go in and out of Chinese ports that have Chinese crews, and that they were fishing there almost certainly illegally. This is a peer-reviewed paper that with South Korean and Japanese government researchers that collaborated with us on this work. And we're now working to scale and apply that same approach and technologies to other areas of the world. We have a scientific paper on the forced labor risk, and as we mentioned, we're developing further models. This is the with University of California, Santa Barbara. So Tony's already mentioned that. I don't need to tell you the story. All of our data is available on our website, all of our published data. In addition to viewing it on the map, we are working increasingly to make it available as a product you can take away and work with. So there's a big download data button right on the website you can use to get at many of the data sets for researchers, scientists, and analysts. We also have this extensive analysis and training program. We have analysts. We have, I think, 15 now analysts who work with countries around the world. Many of those countries are partners that are sharing data with us, and we work with them to look at their data and bring back solutions for them. We have analysts looking at transshipment at sea, generating reports that are submitted to regional fisheries management organizations to inform them. And we are working now also on port control implementation to support port inspectors and provide better, more timely data on the activities of vessels before they arrive in port. We have a memorandum of understanding with the U.S. Coast Guard, and we've been collaborating with them now for 3 years. Learning about the needs of patrol support. We've worked with the Coast Guard on their Pacific patrols, and more recently, as Vinny mentioned, in the South American patrol by the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Stone. The analyst who works most directly with the Coast Guard will be presenting some of that work tomorrow. So if you want to hear about how we do that, he's in Japan. He has to get up in the middle of the night for this, but he's going to show up and talk to you about some of this work. In addition to the Coast Guard, we have a memorandum of understanding with the U.S. Southern Command and with the U.S. Defense Innovation Unit, and we're working with them to find ways to bring these tools into these open source tools into a maritime security context and make them more useful to those types of users. And this is, I just love this quote from Captain Morrison of the Coast Guard. Global Fishing Watch provides a vital overlapping layer of intelligence, giving greater transparency on legitimate vessels and potential violators involved in IUU fishing. Whether you're a large or small national state, to have access to near real-time data on fishing activity in or outside your waters is a very powerful tool. It sheds light on the problem so that countries with restricted enforcement ability can focus their efforts efficiently on illegal fishing. So we're very happy to have Captain Morrison as a fan and to continue to support him in his work in the Coast Guard. So in addition to the big public map, which we've had available for several years, we have a new tool that focuses specifically on transshipment and the carrier vessels that facilitate a lot of the illegal fishing activity that happens at sea, especially in the high seas and the distant water fleets. So we have a tool now that makes it easier to map the networks of activity between the carrier vessels and the fishing vessels, and that is available on the Global Fishing Watch site right now, and we use that to generate an analysis and reports for countries and for the regional fisheries management orgs that are responsible for the high seas. And you'll see more about that tomorrow. And we've just launched a new tool called Marine Manager, which is brings the technology to bear on marine protected areas specifically. And we have 5 pilot sites where we're working on this. The Galapagos is one of them. There are 2 others in the Atlantic Ocean and in the Pacific. And so this tool brings in environmental data and other non-vessel related data, and allows you to start combining the vessel activity with other data and species presence and other fisheries data that you want to use to understand the drivers of illegal fishing and the potential of legal fishing and illegal fishing, and the potential for bycatch and other negative impacts. To understand that better and design better policies and conduct and plan better enforcement. So our focus with the way we present our data and tools is that it should always be easy to use. So we do a lot of work to make these nice, easy to use visualizations that make navigating the data as seamless as possible. We try to keep it science-based. So and that includes collaborating with scientists on providing now academic produced data that goes into the tool. All of our data is dynamic, so you can move through time from the beginning of our AIS data set, which is 2012, up until usually 3 days ago for most of the data. And we focus on global data sets that are global. So we always try to do solutions which will scale and work in the global context. So some things that we're working on for the future. We are building new mechanisms for publishing our data using application programming interfaces. These are machine readable tools that allow you to directly integrate our data sources with other maritime management systems. So we will be publishing a new set of these tools, which will allow software developers to connect our data straight into other systems. For instance, a system like SeaVision, which is the joint U.S. Navy Coast Guard tool that has classified data and other data sources in it. We will work to make our data able to flow into systems like that, so they can combine it with their classified data in one place. We also are working on detecting more vessels. We're working with satellite radar globally to detect non-compliant vessels that do not broadcast AIS or VMS. And we also are in the early stages of looking at new satellite capabilities to detect radio frequency broadcasts that come from vessels. These are the navigational radars that they use and other things to be able to detect the presence of vessels that are non-compliant and potentially track them and even identify them. That is years down the road, that capability, and we don't know to the extent to what we'll be able to do it globally and at very low cost. But it is a very promising technology set that we're working on extensively. Our goal by 2025 is to be able to detect every vessel on the ocean larger than 15 meters every day, everywhere, and distribute that information generally openly, publicly, and at no cost. So that's where we're headed. I'm getting close to my time, I think. So coming up tomorrow, we have a whole day, 4 hours of presentations from our team. We're going to focus on foundations, so more deeper information about the data sources we use and the methods. So particularly machine learning and our approach to how we handle big data. Some of that presentation will get a little bit technical, but it is suitable for a lay audience. Our applications, so you'll hear from the analysts that are doing the work with the US Coast Guard patrols and other support we're providing for other countries, and some more detail about how we do the data fusion on the North Korea analysis and how we can apply that to other parts of the world. The tools that we use will be presented, including a live demo, the public map, the carrier vessel portal that shows transshipments at sea, the new Marine Manager tool that focuses on marine protected areas, and the data download portal, how you can actually go download the data today. And then at the end of the day, we will have a special report. I think it was mentioned before, we've completed an analysis of the high seas squid fleet. So this includes vessels from many nations, many of them are Chinese. There are a lot of bad behaviors in that fleet, and this fleet operates off the coast of Japan, off the coast of South America, on the Peru-Ecuador side, and also off Argentina, between Argentina and the Malvinas, and in the Indian Ocean. And it is all one fleet. The vessels, there are vessels, including many of the problematic vessels, follow the squid for those different locations. And so understanding that complete network of vessels is very interesting. And then understanding some of the bad behaviors that are happening out there. And we also use some techniques for detecting the vessels that don't broadcast, which is a lot of them, by detecting the light that they use at night for fishing with satellites. So you'll get a complete report there, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and from our lead analyst, Adacy, who's based in Mexico, and we'll be presenting that for you. So Bruce, that's everything I have. I don't know if you want to do some Q&A. I've not been following it while I've been talking, but I will stop sharing my screen. And you can let me know where we go from here.
Yeah, Paul, I'll be honest too that some of the Q&A has gone away from me here too. But what I'd like to start off with you is to ask again. You're the co-founder, the developer of the platform. Is the Global Fishing Watch platform performing as you envisioned? I'll just talk broadly in there.
Yeah, it has actually exceeded vastly exceeded my expectations for what we're able to do. From what the original vision in 2016. At the time, we were mostly technologists thinking about filling a data gap, and we did not imagine that we would be able to support the level of science that we're doing and the level of analytics. And we also, of course, at the time, never imagined that countries would start letting us use their VMS data and publish it. So that was a very dramatic pivot for us when we realized that was possible to bring more data into the public domain. So we're very pleased with the success that we've had and the ability to fund it in a way that lets us stay true to our mission of providing open data mostly for free, which has been great that we've been able to we've been able to convince the funders of the value of that so that they're willing to support our organization for the last 5 years.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I mean, you had me at Leonardo DiCaprio, but it's a phenomenal presentation today. A lot of information and amazing, all the things that Global Fishing Watch is doing. I appreciate you covering that. And again, a good opportunity tomorrow, I think. Appreciate you highlighting what we're going to cover there. And so I hope everybody's able to join us tomorrow also. Before I go into some closing remarks for today and tell a little bit about tomorrow. Paul, any closing thoughts or comments you'd like to share with the group?
I guess, yeah, I think that the fact that we're able to communicate with this audience about the value of and raise the profile of the value of data sharing. That's been a theme throughout the whole day here. Everybody talks about the vital importance of sharing more information and collaborating more, because IUU fishing is inherently a transnational problem, right? No one nation can manage it because vessels move around, they cross jurisdictions, they're flagged in one state and fish in another state. So there has to be cooperation if we're really going to do it. And the first step is sharing information.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, that's certainly a common theme that comes up time and time again, and obviously easier said than done, because it is something that is common that we're talking about. So again, thanks again